Hello everybody and welcome to another Starcraft 2 commentary. Today it's a ZvZ on this map. Oh my god, I don't know the map name. One of the new maps, I think it's either Abyssal Caverns or Nezarim Crypt. Those are the two that use this tile set. So it's one of those maps. Really gotta check that before I start a replay. But regardless, this is ZvZ on cross positions on this map with the blue tile set, the Twilight tile set I think they call it. It's between GaryCoconut, the blue Zerg in the top right, and Dealer in the lower left. I was told this is an epic ZvZ, so I look forward to that. I'm going to be extremely disappointed if this is not epic. I believe it is from the Silver League, so good times in store, no doubt. Looks like we have GaryCoconut going for a fancy 11 extractor trick deal, getting 11 drones, 10 drones, building an extractor, getting an 11th, canceling the extractor to have a total of 11 drones anyway. Getting his overlord now. Often common to get the spawning pool right after that, and looks like he's saving up for that. Oh no, just getting the drones. So up to early 14 drone lead, although with Dealer catching right back up. So not a huge difference between those two builds, and Dealer now getting his gas for what looks like a 14 pool and 14 gas, 14 pool opening, that is to say. We have a more basic build, I guess you might say, a spawning pool coming out for GaryCoconut. And I'm kind of excited to see this one. This is the one with the protected natural. I'm going to lean towards this one being Abyssal Caverns. I feel like this is Abyssal Caverns, the one with the somewhat protected third base that you can guard at this choke. Not uncommon for Zerg to spread creep out to this area and make a line of spine crawlers. I think I was babbling about that in one of my previous replays not too long ago. And yeah, that's something you can do to secure this third base. Since this is an epic ZvZ, epic ZvZ can mean a lot of things. I don't know if it gets to the late game. Well, I do actually know, but I'm going to try to keep it spoiler free. But epic, man, could mean, does it get to the late game? Is it a crazy Baneling micro sort of ZvZ? We're just going to have to wait and find out what these two silver players can deliver. What do we have going on here? 4 lings coming out for Dealer in the lower left. We do have Dealer down here in the lower left. If I say it out loud enough times, hopefully I'll remember it without having to look at the player's colors and name. So those initial 4 Zerglings, no doubt going to scout out across the map. Who has a vision of who? So Dealer, no vision of our hero Gary the Coconut in the upper right here. Gary does have vision of his opponent. Looks like he drone scouted. I assume that's a drone scout. Yeah, it's got to be. The 4 lings all going to the upper left, hoping to get lucky. Not something you necessarily want to do. It's usually best if you don't know where your opponent is to send him out to multiple locations. He already knew he wasn't here, so you want 1 ling headed here and 1 ling headed here, or yeah, I mean, there's no real reason to send more than 1 ling if you're just scouting. These 4 lings going to persist as a single unit though, and may run into the 6 Zerglings from Gary the Coconut. I believe I called Gary the hero earlier, but they're both Zerg players, so they're both going to be heroes, of course. Don't know why I chose one over the other. Our hero Dealer here, now I've called them both heroes, escapes with 4 Zerglings, takes a pick at Gary the Coconut's expo, and is now going to get back into the main base with some sick jukes there. But they're going to run into a queen, and they are not long for this world if they hang out in this base too much longer. Speed coming out for the lings, so that is going to save these 2 intrepid scouting Zerglings for Dealer. Tons of Zerglings on the way for Gary the Coconut. He is not terribly fond of drones right now. He is feeling making lings. Really got to do some damage with these. Kind of a lot of slow speedlings, not the best. Oh no, he did get speedlings. I'm sorry, not slow lings. He did get the speed and then cut gas, much like I do most of my games. So that's a nice build for him. A popular build among Zerg players to get that fast speed. But I'd really like to see him do something with these Zerglings. It's good to get for defense, but they're not the best defensive unit, especially if your opponent rushes Banelings. Which he does not know if Dealer is doing that. He is in fact rushing Banelings though, as is all too common in ZvZ. So Gary the Coconut, or GaryCoconut, is going to want to get some additional tech. I don't think he knows that there are Banelings on the way yet. He does have Overlord cleverly perched here for later scouting, but he's going to have to find out the hard way that there are banelings on the field and can hopefully pull back his pack of rabid zerglings before they are turned to piles of green goo. Dealer with a nice roach block until he had to move one for the drone. Oh man, I hope that doesn't cost him dearly. You'd hate to see that from a little mistake. But, oh Gary, you want to cancel that hatch? Get in there and cancel the hatch. Instead going to engage the army here. It looks like he does have the lings to take care of this. Not the wisest idea to morph banelings here, but Gary going to back out. You see banelings morph like this, you don't have to be scared of them. It's going to take them a while to morph in. You can target fire them down. Would have liked to have seen Gary finish these roaches, and zerglings in that number can definitely deal with the roaches. And kind of a shame to see him back off from dealer there. You don't want to be scared of morphing banelings. It's the morphed ones that you have to be scared of, the ones that are already explosive little suicide bombs. But dealer now able to get out additional roaches. His hatchery made it miraculously there. I really feel like Gary had the forces to take out that hatch and kill all the forces that were currently at the front of dealer's base, but instead forced to back out. He did get his hatchery out before dealer did, so he's had a little bit of extra production for a little while. Has he caught up in drones? Yeah, he's on his way there and just surpassed dealer in drone count. So we're now getting into kind of a mid-game situation, ZvZ, and we have roaches and banelings out for dealer. Like to see him take advantage of that tech advantage that he has. Advantage of his advantage. And maybe deal some damage here to Gary. I don't know if he senses that he has superior tech at this point, but all he's seen are zerglings, so I'd like to see him test out the front door of Gary if nothing else, but instead deciding to macro up himself. Going to be getting plenty of those droney drone things that get us all the monies. And yeah, settling into a mid-game ZvZ, which is somewhat uncommon. It's often just a back and forth bloodbath, much like the 4-player map bloodbath from original Starcraft, which I don't think made it back into Starcraft 2. That was a official Blizzard map in Starcraft 1. Bloodbath, a tiny little 4-player map that was extremely violent and lots of rushes going on. It was a tiny map. It was like 32 by 32 or something. Anybody played Brood War? Let me know that. I forgot the exact dimensions of that one. But dealer is massing up a sizable roachling force and is attacking an empty base, it looks like. Did he forget where his opponent was, or has he just not scouted him? One of those two, I think. Or maybe he's trying to circumvent these watchtowers. Yeah, you know what? Pretty clever from dealer here. I think he's trying to clear out the watchtowers before he makes his move. And that's why he's taking the circuitous route to his opponent, trying to avoid the watchtower vision. That's actually very clever. You know, especially for a silver player. I don't want to denigrate players that way, but you don't usually see that from silver players. Sorry, I had to pause there for a moment, but I should be right back in the exact same moment of the game as I was before. We do have dealer moving in here with the roaches and banelings, morphing in an aggressive position outside of GaryCoconut's base. Ling roach for him. I'd have to say the inferior composition at this point, though he will have spine crawlers in support. This one is just rooting in though, and here come the banelings. Those are going to be devastating. Reinforcing roaches coming in for GaryCoconut though, so he should have superior roach count when all the banelings are done exploding. There we go, just a vicious roach fight here. Spine crawlers going to make a huge difference. A larger number of reinforcing roaches going to be able to repel these aggressive roaches from dealer. So that was really well done by GaryCoconut, holding the attack off there. I still hear zergling sounds though. Yeah, we got a couple munching away at the back of the hatchery here. Did he kill any drones in that exchange? We do have 5 drones total killed. Don't know if that happened earlier in the game, but I assume he was able to sneak those in there in the confusion and get some drone kills. Maybe with the banelings I might have missed that. Apologies if that's the case, but GaryCoconut able to hold off a little mid-game push, you might say, for ZvZ. I think that qualifies as mid-game. Yeah, and we're 13 minutes into the game. That's definitely mid-game hamster sales. Dealer just amassing more roaches up here. Let's take a look at the worker count. We have a 2 worker advantage for GaryCoconut, and that's good for him. Held off the attack, has a superior worker count. Have to give him a slight edge at this point. I did like the banelings in the mix there for dealer. Was quite effective against the zerglings that Gary had. that was able to kind of even the numbers out a bit, but reinforcing roaches a little too much, in addition to the 2 spine crawlers that he had up front. I think he was trying to build a third, but only had 2 for the attack. We do have overlords positioned throughout the map for both players, which is great to see in a ZvZ. This one very aggressively placed by GaryCoconut, but usually you won't venture your queen all the way out there. You don't want to miss an inject or anything like that. So this is a pretty safe spot for the overlord as long as we don't see some creep spread, which is also neglected in ZvZ, so a very smart place for him to put that overlord. And another smartly placed overlord here, another one here by both players, and kind of moving into mid to late game here. What do we got going on? We have Spire Tech on the way for GaryCoconut and Infestor Tech for Dealer. So given those 2 units, I'd have to give a huge advantage to Dealer, just because Infestors are extremely effective against Muta, especially in large numbers of Infestors against any number of Muta. Can be extremely devastating, both because fungal growth is great against clump Mutas. They don't even have to be that clumped, and it's just super effective against them. Just because it's pretty much impossible to control Muta on multiple control groups. It's pretty hard to split them. So they're eventually going to get fungled, and just throw some infested terrans under there, chain fungal, and you have a lot of dead Mutalisks. Mutalisks are very expensive, and you can and losing a bunch of them at one time is pretty devastating in ZvZ, when every larva that you lose is counted against that of your opponents. So we're going to see how this works out for Gary. He is getting the Muta Tech, Dealer is getting the Infestor Tech, and that's kind of what it boils down to. Gary producing his 3 initial Mutas here. Does have tons of money for additional, well, enough gas for 4 additional Mutas, but currently supply blocked. Getting out those overlords to correct that. 4 overlords, going to give him a nice supply cushion. That's what you like to do when you're supply blocked. That's what I like to do too. Yeah, Dealer sticking with a Roachling, Baneling, Infestor against what's going to be Roach Muta. I think I was saying in the last game I casted that I'm wanting to experiment with Roach Muta myself in certain matchups, primarily against Protoss, because I'm just searching for something to do against Protoss. The same old stuff isn't working for me in Diamond League. Heavy Infestor play I'm not doing so well against. Maybe I just need more practice, but I kind of want to see how Roach Muta would work out against Protoss. Roaches for the Stalkers, Muta for the Colossi. See how that would work out. But anyway, that is way off topic. We do have a ton of Mutas here for GaryCoconut. How many exactly? 8 Mutas, which is a good number for beginning harassment. But the pathogen glands for Dealer, I forgot the name of it for a second, has been researched, so any infestors popping out will be able to fungal immediately. We have 2 on the way, and how many already produced? I assume a few. 1 already produced, so that could be really devastating. A single fungal is going to take out about 25% of their life. 4 fungals kills a Muta, so gonna have to be very careful with this Muta harass, not get caught by infestors. He's going to want to get in and out. Hopefully he sees the Infestor Tech and knows that he is in big trouble if he gets caught off guard. Fungal, especially when combined with Queens and Infested Terrans, is so brutal. Overlord coming in with this Muta harass, which is pretty cool. Dealer got a Spire of his own, but it's in danger of going down here to this Muta harass. A nice transfuse there by Dealer. But GaryCoconut focusing down the Spire. I don't think it's going to be saved. Another nice transfuse. He has several more transfuses on this energy, on this Queen, but not able to save that Spire. So his Muta is doing severe damage to the tech of Dealer, but no Infestors coming to kill these Muta either. That's a strange decision. Really want to see that going on. A couple of Mutas dying just from Spore Crawler fire. Looks like the Infestors wanted to get in, do a fungal, but weren't quite able to catch it. Are these Muta going to go after this third base going up? They are not. GaryCoconut quite pleased that he has the third base up and does not need to press his advantage, I guess. So he is going to get a pretty big advantage both in production and supply with that third base. What does he have on the way? That's a lot of units. Drones. Looks like he is saturating the space. Always a good thing to do. And way more Mutalisks out on the field. He saw the Infestors and is not deterred from his Muta ways. So that's very brave. You do see a lot of Koreans do this now. I think I heard Nest proclaimed that this is the wave of the future for ZvZ Muta play instead of Infestor play. But we're going to have to see. I don't really buy it. Fungal growth's so good, even with the upcoming nerf against Muta. Still kills them in 4 fungals will bring him down to about 3 life, and then any extra damage or another fungal will finish him. So 4 or 5 fungals still can kill a cloud of like 20 muta if you're not careful. So I don't know. I don't think that's necessarily the future of ZvZ, but we're gonna find out here if GaryCoconut can make it work. If you're able to split your mutas, it can be really effective, or harass in multiple locations, so that a single control group of infestors usually not going to be able to deal with both at the same time. And it's really all the only anti-air for Dealer, so it is kind of a fragile situation. Has to keep all the infestors alive, has to be quick to fungal the mutas so they don't kill all the infestors immediately. A magic box situation would almost be good for muta on infestor battles. Fly all of your mutas over before you fire a single shot, so that way when they do get fungaled, they'll be over the infestors, and hopefully you can target fire most, if not all of them down. Here's the cloud of muta so close to these infestors, it makes me super nervous. As a mass murderer of muta myself, I know how deadly the fungal can be, so I am worried for Gary here. We're going to see how effective this is. He does have a nice ground force to complement these mutas, and he is target firing down the infestors quite effectively. One money fungal goes off, but not enough. The second kind of clump of mutas went unfungaled, and that is going to spell death for Dealer. Even if he is able to kill all of the ground forces here, he still has units in the air. Roach is too stupid to shoot their acid upward, and they are going to die as a result. A single infested Terran getting in there on the mutas. Hard to attack move your infestors in the middle of a battle, infested Terrans in the middle of a battle like this, but they could be doing some damage to the mutas. Regardless, very effective muta play. They're able to focus fire all the infestors down. Dealer unable to react in time, get the proper fungals off, move the infestors away to distance and chain fungal. Was not able to do it, and as a result, all his shit is dead. Gary, using mutalisks very effectively, has a huge advantage. Like to see him press it against the opponent, maybe massacre the third here with the muta. That's exactly what he's going to do, it looks like. Got the vision of that third as he escaped from his harass earlier, so he's going to fly in with this huge flock of muta and completely destroy this third. I don't see how Dealer can save it. He's going to want to get some mutas up in defense for as soon as he can. He really has nothing here. Don't know how he's going to stop this huge flock of muta. The game could be over very soon. These spore crawlers getting transfused, so Queen has to die now. And there we go, first spore down, second one going down too. And these drones are going to get the fuck out of there. And here come the infestors. Let's see if he can kind of make up for the lack of fungals last time. Throwing down some infested Terrans, very good. And he's going to force these mutas to run. Not so many good fungals there, but did force the mutas to flee before completely destroying the third. Do want to get those mutas out of there. Decent against corruptors in this number, certainly. Corruptors do have 2 armor, so the regular shots of muta not that effective. But oh, we got a fungal. Oh, he spent all his money on infested Terrans, all his energy rather. So he's not going to be able to fungal any of these mutas. Oh, get back in there. You can do more damage, Gary. But instead, electing to back off. Hard to know that all the infestors are without fungal energy, so wisely backs off, picks off a stray overlord. That's another great thing mutas can do in ZvZ is kill all the overlords strewn out about the map. You get a big advantage that way. You usually supply block your opponent, and if nothing else, it's 100 minerals in a unit that's giving vision to your enemy, so always good to kill those whenever possible. Dealer able to get 4 more spore crawlers up during that attack. Another good reason to run away with your muta, and if you see 4 spore crawlers, quite effective anti-air, if not quite so as effective as missile turrets for Terran, but hey, we can uproot him and move him around, right? That's pretty cute. Another huge reinforcement to this muta flock, so we might just see him press an attack here. Is he going to combine it with the ground army? No, he's just going to make a shitload of mutas. How many does he have? 35 mutalisks for GaryCoconut. That is going to do the job, I think. I mean, his infestors are going to have fungal energy, but he's kind of shown an inability to get the fungals he needs on this huge group of mutalisks. No Hydralisks in support of those infestors either. Would like to see that. Instead, he's got 4 corruptors, so that could be nice. Some corruptors firing on fungal muta. But instead, Gary gonna kind of fly over this expansion here. I think he knows the infestors there. Oh, gonna snipe this other spire. He is terrified that Dealer might get an air force of his own. There is a very nice fungal. You gotta wait a little longer. I think I saw 2 fungals there kind of thrown almost instantaneously on top of each other. Let's see if we can get a fungal here. That would be huge. He does not. GaryCoconut's mutalisks escape. they were able to kill the Spire, but really didn't do much else. For all the time they spent in the vicinity of Dealer's anti-air, they didn't get much else done. Didn't take a volley at the drones or the Spine Crawler here. But he did kill the Spire, so he didn't like the idea of Dealer making his own air units. Did not like seeing these Corruptors out, which are quite good against Muta. If not super cost-effective in low numbers. 150, 100 for Corruptors against the 100, 100 in Muta. But they do have that 2 armor, which is pretty sick against Mutas, especially against the bounce. It's going to completely negate Muta bounces for the most part. GaryCoconut getting his own Corruptors, showing he knows how to make that unit as well, which is quite good. Going to be able to take out, kind of just get into a Corruptor battle with the opposing Corruptors. Something you don't see very often at all in ZvZ. But yeah, we do have Lings on the ground from GaryCoconut, gotten away from his roach ways, instead spending all his gas on air units. Might be transitioning into Broodlords. I have not kept an eye on his hive tech. He has no hive tech, so not getting Broodlords. Just getting those Corruptors to supplement his Mutaflock would be very helpful against the opposing Corruptors, as I've already said. It looks like GaryCoconut has maxed out on Muta primarily. 32 Mutas, 64 supply worth of Muta, and 15 Corruptors now. So those 15 Corruptors going to do very well against the 4 Corruptors of his opponent. Not going to do much else though until he gets Broodlord tech. So kind of an overreaction, I have to say, with both the Corruptors from GaryCoconut. But he is the player who is at max supply to the 152 supply of his opponent, so he's doing something right. Really going to want to see some good fungals out of Dealer if he wants to survive against this number of Mutalisks. They can just brutalize any number of units. They get all their shots off simultaneously. Such a devastating unit once it gets into this number. And we do have something of a Ling run-by happening here in Dealer's third base. I don't know if the Mutalisks are going to come in and support that, if he's just trying to draw the units in. Kind of would have liked to see the Mutas maybe positioned here and then attack the main when the army comes to defend, but instead kind of just drawing his opponent in, I suppose. Oh, these units are so clumped. Really need to see some fungals. We do see a couple on this clump here, but the Infestors are getting targeted down once again a little bit, it looks like. Mutalisk number could get devastated here with some additional fungals and the infested Terrans complementing the Spore Crawlers. Yet this is what happens to Mutas sometimes. So we see the max supply army from GaryCoconut take a pretty big hit. Both players at about the same place proportionally. I guess Dealer came out ahead of that, you have to say. Lost a huge number of Mutalisks, and the largely useless Corruptors are still all alive, so a lot of the supply of GaryCoconut's army is not being utilized to its fullest until he gets that Broodlord tech, which he's still a ways away from, does not have the hive out. And these Corruptors still a bit of overreaction, still hurting him, not contributing to the war effort at all. But Dealer spent all of his Infestor energy, got some Infestors sniped, and he is not producing any additional Infestors, is he? No. Instead going for a Hydra, and gonna have to spend the majority of that 1600 minerals he's floating on Hydras if he wants to stay in this game, because Gary still has a healthy Mutalisk count. He's got 16 Muta. And a ton of Zerglings running in here, half of them attacking the main army while the other half getting some more economic damage done. That's something I neglected to mention. He did do some serious damage. I'd like to see him fire this hatchery. I think he could have gotten it down by now. But instead he is taking out a few drones. It looks like he might kill the queen. Does kill the queen. It takes 2 fungals to kill Zerglings, so they were able to stay alive long enough to murder that queen. Hydra's out for Dealer. Would have liked to have seen these supporting the Infestors a little earlier. And would really still like to see some more Infestors out from you, man. Because Gary's got a ton of Muta that are waiting to get fungled. Did a pretty good job, just needed more fungals, really. If he had a few more Infestors at that point, he would have been able to finish off this Muta clump. But here come the Mutas, so mobile. Gonna come into the back of Dealer's base and take out that infestation pit. That is the right choice. Would have liked to have seen him snipe that the first time when he killed the Spire. That's a much more dangerous tech path for his opponent. Oh, you need to focus it down. You're wasting a little time there. Okay, Dealer's infestation pit will go down. Had a pretty slick transfuse on this tech building once again, but it does go down. The Corruptors and nothing else are taking some shots from the Spore Crawler, it looks like. So that's good. But a huge army moving out for Dealer. At least it looks pretty huge. He is lower on supply, but again, a lot of the supply in these Corruptors, which are doing jack shit for Gary right now. We're going to see how he holds off this attack, though. If he does, Corruptors hopefully can screen, because they are so useless otherwise. They are going to take out this Overseer, which doesn't do much, and the Hydras are just going to shred these Muta. I don't know if Gary has the units to survive this. He does have a lot of reinforcing Mutas. Don't know where those were the whole time, but they are now in here killing Hydralisks in mass. They can definitely do that. Corruptors still just chilling, but Roaches still unable to shoot up. Still too stupid to shoot up, and these Mutas are definitely going to clean up the Roaches given enough time. It's all going to come down to how much damage these Roaches do while they're still alive. Killing a macro hatch at the front. Like to see him kill this Expo too and all the drones. Yep, there goes Dealer. Working on all the drones with GaryCoconut down. If only these could turn into Broodlords, he might be able to turn the tide, but the Mutas, now what are the Mutas doing? They're just hiding over here. Really needs to be taking out the Roaches. Don't know what he's doing. Get your Mutas back, Gary. There he goes. And needs to clean up these Roaches before they do any additional damage. They've killed 2 hatcheries at this point. One was a pretty big loss, and they can't mine gas from his natural anymore. And he might lose the Hive tech. He has advanced a Hive. If he's not careful, needs to focus down these Roaches. Really want to focus fire. They have pretty high armor themselves, especially now they've been upgraded. Got to kill Roaches to prevent him from doing that damage to your hatch. Looks like he's going to clean it up without too much more problem. Invested back into Mutalisk. Stayed away from the Corruptor overproduction, which really hurt him. These guys still doing nothing, but able to get enough Mutas back out to clean up the Roaches. And I don't think Dealer has much of an answer. Kind of macroing up a paltry number of Hydralisks here. Not going to be able to kill the Muta count for Gary. I mean, how many Mutas is that to how many Hydras? 33 Mutas to 14 Hydras. Not nearly enough Hydras to kill that number of Muta. So Dealer looks to be in dire straits getting his macro back in order. But if Gary attacks anytime soon, I think the game is his for the taking. A little Ling Hydra composition, kind of rare for Dealer. Seeing some rare compositions this game. But, you know, that's the way it goes in Silver League sometimes. No problem with that. And sometimes, you know, we people from the slightly higher leagues, I mean, I'm not going to pretend like there's a huge difference. Sometimes we just stop experimenting with things, so we're not necessarily any smarter than anybody else. Here comes Gary floating in with tons and tons of Muta. And we do have the Broodlord tech from GaryCoconut, so these Corruptors are going to start earning their pay. Going to be throwing down Broodlings upon these Hydras, which will be helpless to prevent it. Frankly, this number of Muta is enough to win it as it is, but in support of these Broodlords, that is going to be all she wrote, I have to think, because we have a huge supply advantage for GaryCoconut, and now a huge tech advantage with these Broodlords. To this point, I have to say Dealer had the advantage with his Infestors, but didn't use them well enough, didn't get high enough number of them, and it looks like this is going to be kind of the death march here. Too bad he doesn't have any Infestors. That would be a perfect clump to fungal, but just not going to work for him. Able to take out the Roachborn, and here come the Muta in defense of the Broodlords. Didn't really need to back out there. Not enough Hydras to kill that number of Muta, and you've got Broodlords, so just attack, move, and win is what I would say to do here. There he goes. Completely cleaning up that defending force of Hydras. Was maybe expecting more Hydras than that to come flying in at some point. But that's all there is, really. A few more Hydras right over here, but this is the end of the game for all intents and purposes. As soon as Gary A moves, that is, this game will be over. The Broodlords, perfect choice, perfect use for those Corruptors that were useless to this point. It's kind of a smart idea to keep your Mutas safe, but not in this number. I guess he just doesn't know the advantage he has. And Dealer has left the game. So very well played there by both players. Kind of a longer ZvZ is kind of fun to watch sometimes. Doesn't always happen, but did here. And we got to see Broodlords against Hydras. We see how that works. Actually, that's kind of what happens anytime Hydras fight anything. They kind of get killed. But anyway, great game. Thanks for sending it in, Gary. He is a member of Nerdy Shore, the Nerdy Shore forums that I frequent myself. So thanks so much for sending it in. And I'll see you all the next time I do a cast, which will probably be tomorrow night because I'm pretty tired. Thanks for watching.